And Chicago has always been, the history is always changing for the better. And when you think about our history, the Great Chicago Fire, you think the World's Columbian Exposition of 1893, and now the 2016 Olympic and Paralympic Games will be such a moment that will improve our quality of life. Hosting the Games would help ensure that Chicagoans remain a vibrant, a creative, a growing place where all of our children and future generations can have a good life. It is clear that many people think hosting the Olympics would be a great thing for Chicago. We see a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that would help redefine our city and create a host of new opportunities. And that's why our competition is very strong. When you think of our competition, Tokyo, Japan. You think Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. You think of Madrid, Spain. But as we grapple as a city and a nation with the worst economic downturn in recent memory, we know that people are struggling. Some have lost their jobs and even their homes. They're having to make difficult decisions that make it tough to focus on long-term benefits of the Olympic and Paralympic movement. I understand that, and I respect that. As we prepare to leave for Copenhagen for the final week leading up to the International Olympic Committee's decision, I want to remind all Chicagoans how just bidding for the Olympic Games and Paralympic Games will have a deeply positive impact upon our city. Above all, I share the confidence of those who have been involved in putting together the finances for the game, and the risk to taxpayers of hosting the Games is small. Well, the jobs and revenue and other economic benefits from the Games would be great. I want to thank members of the City Council for not only having hearings, but also working with their community representatives in their block clubs. I want to thank Governor Quinn and members of the General Assembly for understanding that as well on behalf of not only the city, on behalf of the state. We all have to remember not a single Summer Olympic Games in over 35 years has lost money, but has returned an average surplus of $748 million back to host cities for projects that improve the quality of life in those cities. Most importantly, the Olympic and Paralympic Games would be a huge boost to our economy, raising it to a new level. They would help us recover sooner from the recession that still grips our nation, enable us to compete in the new economy. Tens of thousands of jobs for hardworking Chicagoans would be created as we lead up to the Games, and more jobs for them would be created after the Games have ended, and our city is more clearly positioned around the world as a great place to visit and, of course, do business. Millions in new tax revenue would be generated because of them, especially from tourists and others who visit our city. All of our children and neighborhoods would benefit as well. New neighborhood investments would be made, including permanent assets that all Chicagoans will enjoy for generations to come. First of all, swimming centers, amphitheater for sporting and cultural events in Washington Park, a multi-sport facility, a 50-meter recreation competition swimming pool in Douglas Park, a brand new hockey field in Jackson Park, new recreational space at Northerly Island with youth sailing center, rowing courses, kayaking, paddling courses, outdoor sports, environmental center, new tennis courts in Lincoln Park. If we are fortunate enough to host the Games, billions of people from around the world would be exposed to Chicago as a destination for tourism and business, which would create jobs and generate new revenue. The bottom line is that more visitors mean more revenue, more jobs, more resources that can be used to strengthen all of our communities. We expect the Games to generate more than $20 billion in new economic activity, including more than $1.5 billion in business taxes all across the state. And the Games would serve as a catalyst for funding from the federal government to meet our public transit, infrastructure, and security needs, both for the CTA and Metro. This economic opportunity will be shared by all, because the Chicago 2016 Olympic and Paralympic Bid Outreach Advisory Council have signed a memorandum of understanding with community groups that focus on establishing programs that will ensure, and this is the key, broad participation and diversity in contracting, procurement, construction, workforce development, affordable housing, and community enhancement. And I want to thank the members of the City Council especially Alderman Predwinkle, Alderman Cochran, Alderman Harrison, all those, Alderman Austin, Alderman Schiller, Alderman Bellister, Alderman Lane, and many others that work very closely with all the community groups, and not just in this designated area, but throughout the city. All Olympic spending and contracts, construction, minority women contracting, staff diversity and forecasts, among other things, would be reported quarterly to the City Council and to the public, which will help assure that that there is accountability and transparency in the organizing committee decision making. I don't have a single doubt that all these good things that will happen if Chicago is selected to host the 2016 Games. Regardless of the outcome next week, we can definitely say the bidding for these games have been a good thing and our city is better off for it. Chicago 2016 is committed to several initiatives that will leave a lasting positive impact on Chicago, no matter what. For example, World Sport Chicago will play a large role in engaging our Chicago youth, regardless of the International Olympic Committee's decision. The recent U.S. Olympic Committee Hall of Fame event raised nearly $5 million, most of which will be used to continue World Sport Chicago beyond October 2nd. Funds left over from the bid process will be given to World Sport Chicago. In the past 2 years, World Sport Chicago has reached 30,000 Chicago children through its events and another 230,000 of Chicago's young people through educational activities, including Olympic Week. It has brought several major sporting events. IABA, the World Boxing Championship, was held recently. 2 Chicago Cup wrestling competitions, Pan American weightlifting championships, Tyson American Gym Cup program, 2 international youth soccer tournaments. Events such as these raise Chicago's profile, positioned as a center of international sport, set up to host more competitions in the future. And these events bring visitors, generate revenue for our local economy. World Sport Chicago has created a program to help Chicago young people prepare for college, create international youth exchange programs, involve local Olympians and Paralympians, and mentoring young people in schools and local sports programs. All these initiatives will continue and others will be established. More people around the world know about Chicago because of the bid process. We have held world-class sporting events here. Our representatives have traveled throughout the world promoting Chicago's cultural, amenities, hospitality, and business. The city has acquired the Michael Reese Hospital, as a site for the Olympic Village. A step, whether we get the games or not, that will lead to the creation of a new, vibrant neighborhood, will serve as a catalyst for continual revitalization of the near South Side. We'll be able to guide the redevelopment of these 37 acres, which is the largest big parcel available on the near South Side. It will become a neighborhood of affordable housing, new jobs, retail community for Chicago residents, will also increase the access to the lakefront on the South Side. In a spirit of partnership, the bid has strengthened our efforts to bring together groups throughout the city to talk about common civic purpose and engage them in the planning process. Officials of the Chicago 2016 held hearings at every ward in the city to take questions from the people of our city, explain their plan. As thousands of Chicagoans participated, I want to thank all of them for getting involved. Perhaps the greatest and the most important permanent benefit of trying to bring the Olympic Games here, in doing so, we have been able to take a fresh look at how we strengthen our economy, define our city's needs and capabilities, and plan for a better economic future. We haven't even been awarded the privilege of hosting the Games. We have already benefited from just bidding on them. And all these benefits have been realized with no taxpayer support. All the money used in the bid process was raised from private sources, which is testament to Pat Ryan, his leadership, generosity of Chicago business and non-for-profit organizations. As I said before, those who plan for the future, who actively look ahead for bigger opportunities, will not only survive, but also will thrive. Yes, we are in a recession, and it's very difficult. Things will likely get worse before they get better. But we pursue the bid because we know that won't always be the case. And our goal is to position Chicago to reap the economic, revenue, and neighborhood benefits of the better times to come. We have come a long way since May of 2006, when I asked Pat Ryan to head the exploratory committee to determine the feasibility of holding the 2016 Olympic and Paralympic Games in Chicago. The undertaking of this bid has been worth it to the city of Chicago for all the reasons and one more. We basically love our city. We're proud of it. We're proud of the hard work of thousands of people, many of them volunteers who brought up us right to the doorstep of another defining moment in Chicago's history. So I'm taking with me to Denmark the spirit of Jean-Baptiste du Sable, the spirit of Daniel Burnham, the spirit of Jane Addams, and the spirit of Jesse Owens and Ralph Metcalf, who came from the south side of the city of Chicago. And I point this out. 1936, some way they got to Berlin to participate. When you think of that, traveling all the way there and getting into the stadium full of the Aryan race, the dominant race at that time. And Hitler said, we'll dominate the world. We'll take over the world. And these two young men, in just a few minutes, defined the course of history by defeating the Nazis and all those who thought that Nazism was right. Now, you talk about courage. Determination, and discipline. They came back to America. And there were barriers. Many times they were not well liked. Separate washrooms, separate schools, everything else. But they knew there's something higher. It defined them, defined themselves and their families. And today, yes, another generation of Jesse Owens and Ralph Metcalf will be going to Denmark on behalf of that spirit. And the other day I was at the Special Olympics, the young children of our city who compete in Special Olympics, a lot of volunteers, special children. And you see them going up and down in the Olympic movement, doing everything possible, and getting that little ribbon or that little award means so much to them. And I firmly believe that is the spirit we're taking. And all the families that have arrived in Chicago, whether from the South or from all over the world, that came here to make a better way of life here in the great city of Chicago. And all their grandparents or great-grandparents who sacrificed for them, who worked on behalf of their children or grandchildren to make a better way of life. And I firmly believe that is the spirit of Chicago. We are determined, and we are determined. And I think we have done our best. We have presented a wonderful case. And most importantly, who's leading us today? The President of the United States and the First Lady lives just so many blocks east of here.
That's right.
Now you think of that alone. What a remarkable country. And besides that, Michelle Obama will lead the delegation of members of the cabinet. And she will stand on her own 2 feet, be able to make a presentation, not on behalf of only Chicago, but the United States of America. And like anything else, I want to personally thank the President and the First Lady. They have been with us prior to when we started in 2006 as a senator, then as a candidate for president. And when we became one of the 4 cities a year ago or so, he was down at the Daley Center, stopped in his campaign and talked about the Olympic and Paralympic movement. And now as president, he's done everything possible. And I bet any meeting he has with leaders across the world, he always brings in the Olympic and Paralympic movement for the city of Chicago. First Lady has traveled in the same way, talking about the United States of America and Chicago's bid. And I'm very, very proud of their support. The White House has an office there, strictly in regards to our Olympic bid. And I want to thank Valerie Jarrett and all those that have worked so hard. But this is the moment that we all look forward to. Going there and making the presentation on behalf of the United States of America, Chicago. And we make it in the spirit of all of our families, in the spirit of those who sacrifice to make what our city is and what our nation is. And to me, that is something that is, I think it's something that is so remarkable in how this nation every day is getting better and better. And I thank the President of the United States having the courage continually to stand up and make announcements on behalf of the improvement of this country. But tonight I'll be leaving for Copenhagen. I'm just as excited as anybody else. And I thank the citizens, I thank all those that are on this dais, and those who have worked so hard on behalf of this bid process. And to me, this has been a wonderful journey. and a journey that you're going to be proud, I firmly believe, of the presentation that we make to the IOC. God bless you and thank you.